Longlegs delivers panic, anxiety, thrills, chills, and more in a Seven meets Hereditary, satanic-styled modern horror masterpiece. Lee Harker, a young FBI agent, tracks down a killer with more than blood on his hands. The stakes get even higher when Special Agent Harker must dig into her own past to find the answers she's looking for. Hello and welcome to Studio Cinema Saturday, the show where we review films old and new, the ones you don't like and the ones you do. I'm your host, Kael, and today I'm talking 2024's Longlegs. Directed by Perkins, the cast follows Micah Monroe as Lee Harker, Nicolas Cage as Longlegs, Blair Underwood as Agent Carter, Alicia Witt as Ruth Harker, and Kiernan Shipka as Carrie Ann Camera. I'm going to start out with some of that spoiler-free talk at the beginning of this episode, and I just want to start by saying this was such a nice movie to go watch. I watched this on a full theater on a Saturday night, and it was awesome to just go see a horror film in a packed theater again. It feels like it's been forever since that happened to me. I liked the story of this, liked the tension, liked the scares, liked the characters. And I'll say this is the first Perkins film I've seen, but as I was looking into him for this episode, it seems like he has an awesome background in filmmaking. I actually saw as a child he played Norman Bates as a kid in Psycho 2, which I thought was really cool. But he has an extensive acting resume and has directed a couple other films as well, but this is the first film I've seen of his, and man, it's a nice introduction because he did amazing here. The direction of this film is awesome. It's reminded me of an A24 kind of indie horror film, but it was extremely well made, and I especially loved like the cinematics and the visual style created by Perkins here. I think this film sits as a great example on just how to use color and how to use a washed look versus a contrasty, colorful look, and when to kind of change that and when to use overwhelming amounts of color and when not to. There's a video essay to be made on the color here alone. Also, I liked the switching of aspect ratios here, and the reveal as to kind of why that's happening with the flashbacks is absolutely haunting at the end of the film, but we're in spoiler free, I won't get there yet. I want to talk about this. With a horror film, I like to just take a look at, was this film scary? Did it give me thrills? Was I scared? I was sitting pretty close to the screen. I usually try not to, but the screen was taking up my entire view, and it made this film stressful. Is it scary? I think so, and if you're not scared by maybe the jumps or the thrills throughout the film, the ending of the film has to haunt you, or maybe you're demented. I've been finding that the budget for this movie is $3 to $10 million, so I don't know where it sits in that ballpark, but it is kind of this lower to mid-budget scale for a film, and I saw that it made $10 million in its opening day, not weekend, day. So really glad that this film's doing well, and people are really seeming to like it. So it's broken into 3 parts, and so you clearly have your Act 1 and 3 laid out for you. Part 1 definitely stands as a really strong hook, and it made me like the characters. Maybe it intrigued me about the characters more, because you don't get much on Lee until more of the end of the film. Part 2 of the film definitely slows down just a little bit and kept me wondering about the questions I had, and even has me thinking at one point, am I missing something? And then as soon as I'm kind of at the point of okay, I'm ready for something to happen here, Part 3 comes at you with multiple twists to the entire story, a ton of payoff to the kind of slow burn that you've been experiencing. And man, I just had a lot of fun in Part 3. My anxiety was through the roof in Part 3 of this film. Before I go into any spoilers, I do want to say that this has probably been my favorite horror film of the year. So, in the comments below, let me know what your favorite horror film of 2024 has been so far, because I'm really curious to know what people are thinking. While you're at it, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, because you'd be helping me. Don't you want to help somebody today? Spoiler warning. If you watch past this moment in the video, you'll get spoiled for Longlegs, and it's a good movie, so that'd really suck. So, thanks for watching this far, but if you haven't watched the movie, See you next time. But come back. Now I'm gonna go into the plot of the film and more of a breakdown, so if you're just here looking for the ending explained, go to this timestamp. Here's where I'm talking about the ending and maybe shedding some light if you're kind of like me when I was walking out of the theater and trying to, really gather your thoughts here. When I was walking out of the theater, I was having to gather my thoughts a lot, but now that I've sat on it for a day, I'm like, man, that movie was awesome. The opening is really unsettling, finding this little girl who we find out later is Lee Harker, and she's kind of following some voices, and that's when we see a man with long legs kind of head out of frame. And he's talking to her, and telling her he's a friend of a friend who lives downstairs, which ends up insanely creepy. It's just kind of this scene where he then leans down into the camera and you get his face, and like just his face alone is a jump scare throughout the entire movie. In the one review I watched on this film, someone was shitting on his face and like the prosthetics they did that made it look like a mask. I thought he just looked messed up and creepy. Thought it looked good. We end up finding out later, though, that Lee Harker doesn't really remember this moment. And that's kind of something that's interesting to the plot of the film. She's later reminded, and we found out that her mom had maybe a little bit of manipulation to do with this. But anyways, moving on from the opening, I really enjoyed the mystery of the film. It was something that maybe in the second part, I'm thinking like, dude, am I missing something here? Like, maybe there are moments where they're popping through the cases. I love how they kind of cut to like what she's looking at and how she's digging through the cases. I love how that cuts together. But maybe there's moments where I'm like, man, glad she's the one trying to figure this out and not me. Loved how in the kind of intro murder case that they're getting into while she's following this kind of series of murders spanning across decades, they're talking about there are 4 murders in this house. They were all killed with weapons inside the house, but a 5th person never entered. No one ever came in and killed these people. The twist that you get, like the reveal with that in the 3rd act with it being the mom and everything, is just haunting, and actually seeing it at the end, watching her do it, was just unsettling. There's so many unsettling moments in this film. Longlegs entering Agent Harker's house was super scary, and the scene where he leaves the birthday card, and it's one of the things that kind of lets her piece together the overall puzzle that's being presented. Another unsettling aspect of the film is Lee Harker's kind of clairvoyance, and the FBI thinking that she's got some kind of telepathy, or, that she just kind of knows things and is a great guesser and has this 6th sense that they refer to. Kind of learning her connection later on as to kind of why that's happening, and Longlegs and the devil and her being influenced by the doll. It's all just insanely creepy to know that there was such a hold on her throughout most of the film. But I enjoyed, before we knew, the mystery of not knowing how she was connected to the case, and even Agent Carter's trying to put it together himself throughout the film. Speaking of Agent Carter, I kind of loved his family. Loved his character. He was super likable. His daughter was also likable early in the film, so when you come back to their house at the very end, the birthday party was something that was set up super early, and so as she has to come to that, and it ends up being the day that they're missing, it's just kind of really saddens me to see their end. And I like how Ruby and Lee have the same birthday, and Lee is the birthday that was missed the first time, so it perfectly fills in to end Longlegs' killings. One of the more disturbing moments in this film is when they capture Longlegs. He gives himself up, and Lee Harker talks to him, and he ends up telling her to go talk to her mom about it, and then just beats his face into the table. His nose is disgusting, and he kills himself. He gives one last Hail Satan and just kills himself, which was terrifying. Another thing that I kind of skipped over is Agent Carter and Harker going to visit Carrie Ann Camera, and this is a moment where you get this newly introduced mystery of someone else came in as Lee Harker before this, and Lee had never been there. You end up getting the reveal that it was Longlegs and that they weren't checking IDs there, And Carrie Ann's ends up jumping out the window like she said she would if that's what Longlegs told her to do. And it is just so creepy to see the devil's hands on everything. And it through Longlegs and the mother is just, ugh. This takes us back to probably my favorite moment in the film, especially while I was watching it and getting this twist live. After the whole debacle with Longlegs killing himself, there's a female agent with the FBI where she's like, hey, I'm not gonna let you drive to your mom's after witnessing that, but like, I'll drive you and we'll go so you can still bring her in for questioning if she knows something. God, that helpful decision leads her to her death when you see through the window the mom killing her, and it's kind of this reveal that the mom is the accomplice. You've maybe been speculating that throughout the film. I was kind of thrown by the mom's character, to be honest, but we get to the moment where we find out that she's the accomplice, and when Lee Harker runs outside to chase her down after what she did, she has the shotgun pointed at a doll of Lee. And throughout this sequence, you can see the devil in the background of shots. Kind of reminds me of Black Phillip, just a little bit, from The Witch, and the fact that he kind of looks like more of this demonic animal-like creature, more like a goat. And I'll go ahead and segue us into talking about the end of the film here. We see the devil lurking, the mom shoots the doll, and I'd like to point out that you kind of see this black demonic smoke come out of the doll's head, but then you see it come out of the back of Lee's head. I like to think right here that the mom realizes after Lee has Longlegs die, she's like, maybe now killing the doll will release my daughter, but she still continues to carry on the devil's will, and that part really threw me, haunted me, just kind of shows the power of this satanic power in the film. What definitely haunted me after this is Lee Harker kind of waking up in the house after this. Waking up in Longlegs' lair and walking into her mom's house from that. So creepy to know he was there the whole time. It flashes you back to a line that he tells her in the interrogation scene where he laughed the day that she said that she was going into a law career. And it's just so scary that it's because he was actually there living in the house. Now, I want to talk about kind of the satanic undertone and the devil and the doll's perspective. So we see that, Longlegs is going around telling people that they've won and the church has made them this doll, and he gives them the doll, and then he's essentially putting the devil inside these dolls and having the devil just destroy these families. Everyone involved is ending up dead. So when he comes to do this to Lee Harker, the mom's able to save Lee, but for that she has to end up carrying out Longlegs' deeds herself. We then find out that the perspective that we're seeing when we cut back to flashbacks and the aspect ratio changes to the box is of the dolls. This is the perspective of the devil that we're seeing, and he's kind of watching Lee and the children and Longlegs and Ruth, the mother. He's just kind of watching them carry out his will. What's even creepier is you get to the end of the film where Lee goes to shoot Ruby's doll and she has no more bullets left. So the devil is kind of still there at the end of the film. And it makes me wonder, do they win? Does Lee win? Does she beat the devil here? She's definitely released by him, and she stops kind of the ritual going on in the house at the end. She can't save Agent Carter or his wife, but she's able to save his daughter, which wasn't supposed to happen. Is she still going to be able to, even though she didn't destroy the doll? I assume they're going to destroy the doll anyways, but Agent Harker is in a tough spot at the end of the film. I believe she does break the cycle here. When the mom destroys the doll, she's released and she kills the mom. So really, it's almost got me thinking like all they need to do now is destroy that doll, and they've kind of ended this connection and can separate themselves away from the devil. I do think Lee gets out of the devil's grasp though, and that's, I think, the biggest resolution to the plot. Now I guess the only thing I have left to do is to score this film. I really liked it. I'm really having to think on this one. It's one of those things where because of the second act, I kind of take away just a little bit because I started to get maybe a little bored during the second act. Maybe I thought things just slowed down a lot and that we weren't getting that much. We were just kind of running around. And I get that that's kind of the style of the movie though, so I'm not going to take off too much for it. I'm going to give this film a solid 8 out of 10. And to me on this kind of scale, 7, 7.5, those are good movies. When you get up into the 8, 8.5, these are really great movies. And obviously I'm trying to save 9 and 10s for almost perfect films here. So an 8 out of 10, that's really good. That's better than what I've given most films this year, besides maybe Iron Claw. Definitely let me know what you guys are scoring it down below in the comments. I'm really interested to hear what people think about this film. It's one of those situations where I watched the film, loved the film, and came home and told my roommates, like, I don't know if you guys are gonna like the film, but I really liked it. I think this is a film that people are enjoying online though, so that makes me really happy. Big shout out to Oz Perkins for making an awesome film. I hope you enjoyed this video and this review of Longlegs 2024. We have a huge event upcoming at Studio 24. We're doing a Studio 24 horror month, so if you're watching this video, it means you like horror films. We have 4 of them coming out this October, and we're super excited to release them. They'll be releasing on the weekends with trailers coming out on Tuesday for all of them. We can't wait to share our horror visions with you. We have a lot of other episodes of Studio Cinema Saturday for you to check out. We've just done Maxine, we've done X, Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, Civil War, and all kinds of other content along with TV shows too. We do Television Tuesday where we've done Young Justice, Game of Thrones, House of the Dragon. We have all the content you want in terms of film and TV here, so what are you still watching this video for? It's over. Go click on the next one.